You want Asgard? It's yours.
Whatever game you're playing, it won't work. You can't defeat me.
No, I know. But he can.
The people are safe. That's all that matters.
We're fulfilling prophecy.
I hate this prophecy.
So do I, but we have no choice. CERN destroys Asgard, he destroys Hellas so that our people may live. But we need to let him finish the job, otherwise... No. Don't stop, you moron! Hulk, stop! Just for once in your life, don't smash! Big monster!
Let's go!
Fine.
The damage is not too bad. As long as the foundations are still strong, we can rebuild this place. It will become a haven for all peoples and aliens of the universe. Those foundations are gone. Sorry.
What have I done? You saved us from extinction. Asgard is not a place. It's a people.
All right. Let me get this off the screen here. Hello, 63 of you. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil. Maybe this is your first time here. Very excited to be sharing with you guys tonight. Let me get the comments pulled up on my end so I can see what we got going on. I have been very, very busy since I have been uploading this. So let me see who we got here. First off, before I get going any further, I want to share something. I had one of you guys send me a t-shirt. It was one of my favorite people in the world, Miss M. You probably hear me mention her name all the time. She had me a banana sandwich shirt. You guys know that I love the term banana sandwich for mind-blowing things. So I just want to give a shout out to Miss M for this wonderful shirt that I am wearing here. She made one for me, for my wife, for my son, and for my daughter, who will be here the day before the eclipse. I will be helping with the delivery of my daughter. I'm very, very excited about that. But I'm even more excited to be fellowshipping with you guys and spending some time with you guys tonight here. So while I have about 65 of you up here, I encourage you guys, if you don't mind, to please go on and hit that like button, go on and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you would like to, and go on and share this thing on out there, go on and get it going so we can get the algorithm jumping and get some more people in here. However, before we get to the main point tonight, I do want to go on and put out some updates. If you have been following along on my Facebook page, congratulations. You're part of a big old growing group. If you haven't been following along with my Facebook page, I encourage you guys to go check out Beyond the Veil. The link should be in the description below. If not, I'll be putting there after the video, so just kind of check back and you'll see it kind of added if it's not in there right now. I've been doing a lot of research and deep diving on that page. And I bring that up first because a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is going to be kind of added on to a really long, in-depth study I've been doing on this Leviathan, Godzilla, Return of Titans of Old, DECODE I've been doing. If you're like one of those I'm only on YouTube kind of people, it's okay. I do have a two-part of this series already over on YouTube. I encourage you to go check it out. The first one is Godzilla versus Godzilla or Leviathan, and then the next one is the Return of Titans of Old. I encourage you guys to go check that out. That way it'll make sense even more with this one tonight. But if you haven't watched those, that's completely fine. I will be touching on a whole lot of stuff to kind of catch you guys up tonight, and also to look deep into this whole Godzilla Titan new movie, New Empire, that has just came out. So anyway, it's time to get going here. The first thing we're going to be looking at tonight is going to be, I guess, let me think about this. I guess it's probably the best rabbit hole to start with, and that is a topic called the bloop. Guys are like, what is this dude already talking about? The bloop. Okay. So before I get going any further, let me get my screen share pulled up here. And we are going to be going back to that Thor video from the beginning. That was a little teaser for about midway through this video, because it's actually going to tie in a whole lot of stuff, and it's going to be crazy. And I will be pulling that back up. So let me get the screen share set up on my end real quick. All right. Awesome. We are good on that. And I have had some people say that they hate this whole screen within a screen thing and all that stuff. I'm sorry. It's just, it is what it is. I've only been doing this for about a month, and it's the only way I know how to do it. So I'm going to go on a little further forward. Let's start looking into the bloop and its tie into what I believe, what is tie into Godzilla and this whole movie DECODE. So let's check this out. First of all, if you haven't heard of the bloop, let's look at this. Okay. Right here is a map, a map. But anyway, map of the United States and South America. Okay. But right here is a pinpoint. This pinpoint here is the bloop. Let's see if I can get this slid over here. The bloop was an ultra low boom frequency and extremely powerful underwater sound detected by the US, is what this page here says. I want you guys to look at this location, because it's going to be actually a really big topic of locations for tonight. Okay, so this point here is where the bloop was found. There was actually another bloop found even past this one that was actually a little bit over here. We'll be talking about that as well, but let's deep dive a little bit more into the bloop. I want to research live with you guys so you can kind of see where I get to like some of this information from. Okay, so let's just go like a normal person would do. They'll just go type bloop after this video. Check this out. So here we go. This is the second location. Okay, right here. Two different locations side by side. Okay, the sound source was roughly triangulated at 50 degrees south, 100 degrees west, a remote point in the South Pacific Ocean west of the southern tip of South America. Let's see. The bloop is a given name of a mysterious underwater sound recorded in the 90s. Years later, NOAA scientists discovered that this sound, now this is important, that this sound emanated from an iceberg cracking and breaking away from the Antarctic glacier. Now, that's what this one says. However, let's look a little further. Let's see what some other people are saying. The bloop measures between, okay, this is talking about a monster here. Okay, somebody's thinking it's a monster there. You can see some people are getting kind of some different ideas with this bloop thing, and you'll see why. Okay, now they're tying in sea monsters with this bloop. That's supposed to be an ice shelf. And yet other people are, once again, trying to tie it in with something else. And I wonder why. Let's look into this one a little bit further. This is the NOAA website, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Let's see what they have to say about the mysterious rumble recorded in 1997. Okay. Let's see. I think, yes, you guys should be able to hear this. You might have to turn your audio up if you would like to, and I want you to tell me what this sounds like. Ready? Go. Did you hear it? You might have missed it. Now, I want you to understand why it's like this. Let's listen closely again. Ready? There it went. Don't miss it. When it crosses right here, you'll hear it one more time. Oh, wait. Let me rewind it. Okay. Now, let me get back here. I don't know if you guys could hear that very well on your end. Let me get out of this screen within a screen thing so it won't make people dizzy. I don't know if you heard that where you are, but I can replicate that noise, okay? In a funny way. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Hence the word bloop, okay? Do you know why it makes that noise? You guys ever been in a pool with your brother and he's like really immature and he's like, he, watch this. And he farts in the pool and a bubble just bloop right up from the bottom. Well, there's one way a bloop can happen, a bubble underneath the water that comes from an atmospheric pressure being released underneath a water surface at the bottom and a bubble brought up to the top. This is why you could hear it. Miss Karen says, I didn't hear, but have heard it. Okay, yeah, you'd have to really turn your speakers up. Okay, what this sounds like literally is a giant bubble being released in the bottom of the ocean. Okay, now this isn't like you drop something in from the top of the water. This was recorded like in a seismic. Those tests they use for testing for volcanoes, all that stuff for seismic activity. This was discovered at the bottom of the ocean in the trench. Okay, this bloop noise. Okay, like something was just letting out something or opening up something or whatever. Okay, now like I said, that was the first discovery of it. There have been other hearings of that, and there's also this. There's people that still right now go out to the California coastline. And they'll go under, and you guys should go check this out on YouTube. Go underneath the water and do recordings, and you can hear this crazy, still, constant humming like a breathing noise. Is crazy. Whether it's people manipulating it, I don't know. I hear a lot of people, multiple accounts that are kind of aligning right up with each other right now. It's pretty insane. But my thing is this. There was a big bloop that was so big that it was targeted as the biggest underwater activity sound recorded to man, okay? That happened over here. Now, you guys are like, oh, no, it was probably an ice shelf breaking off. Well, what ice shelves do you have over here by South America that would be breaking off in the ocean? Let's think about that first of all. Now, let's think about number two. What else is in this location? Has anything else ever stood out over here? Sure. Let's go down some little rabbit holes and make sure I'm good. Oh, I haven't shared the screen before somebody calls me. Somebody said Levi. That's funny. I don't know. That's your conclusion. I know it didn't sound like an ice shelf breaking off in the middle of a South America aligned ocean water, where it's probably warm. Anyway, let's keep on going. Okay, because this is really, really a big old hole that a lot of people don't go down. Okay, let's check this out. You guys ever heard of Nemo Point? Okay, well, let's check this little rabbit hole out here. Do you guys see where this place is? There's South America. There's the point of South America. And this is Point Nemo. And it's the point in the location that is the furthest from land. So supposedly this is where you can go in the ocean. That's the furthest point from landfall. Okay, so like if you're like, I'm going to go out in the middle of the ocean, this would be what they would call the literal middle of the ocean. It's like the furthest from land. Antarctica being down at the bottom. And they say Antarctica is even closer than South America to this point. But yeah, check this out. So it says, here's why I wanted to show you this. This is Nemo Point. I don't know if you guys are up to date on like news and stuff like this. But I do know that these two guys supposedly in only the last couple of weeks swam from like, I forgot where it was. I don't want to quote anything wrong because I don't like from a land point to Nemo Point, and you show them they're both holding up some like different nation flags and stuff like that, kind of like a UN thing, to show, hey, it's safe out here. Don't question anything that just happened. Okay, but let me show you guys a little thing about Nemo Point. That's pretty incredible. You know, we hear a bloop out here, and you know, we know that this is called Point Nemo, but do you know where else you hear about Nemo and Finding Nemo? Well, you hear about it in the Disney movie, but you also hear about it in Captain Nemo. Here, check this out. Want to get away from it all? You can't do better than a point in the Pacific Ocean, popularly known as Point Nemo, named after the famous submarine sailor, Captain Nemo, from Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Well, let me show you guys something. Let me remove this. Ready? Okay. I want to show you once again, share screen. I saw it come up there. Okay, here we go. Check this out. Ready? So here we are on this. This is the NOAA website, okay? An official website of the United States government right here. Okay. Where's Point Nemo? Well, it's right there where the bloop was. Well, also, like I was showing you guys earlier, Nemo Point, Point Nemo, is named after the famous submarine sailor from Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Underneath the Sea, Under the Sea. This remote oceanic location with its coordinates here, and I'll show you in a little bit, is about 1,400 nautical miles from the nearest land, which is here and there and there, and Easter Islands, which we can, hopefully I'll have time to touch on Easter Islands a little bit tonight as well, to the northeast, and all these other, Antarctica as well, and South America. It's literally right in the center of all those land masses, this place here, Point Nemo. That was named after what? Captain Nemo. You know what's funny about like in plain sight stuff? If you guys have read or seen movies about Pacific Ocean stuff, for example, you guys ever seen Journey to the Mysterious Island with Brandon Fraser? No, that one's actually The Rock and Little Peeta from Hunger Games. They literally go out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean to this lost island where everything's big there. Big plants, big animals, Titan stuff. And the next thing you know, they start discovering all these crazy things that align with, well, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park also has a place out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Skull Island, which is crazy. Because then they got the same thing going on with everything there is bigger and crazier. Well, you know, Avatar, if you get rid of the global NASA deception, let me get out of that, is them going to another water world type area, okay, where places are luminescent and bigger, tightened, everything. You see kind of the same type thing. But what's real crazy about this whole Nemo thing is, well, Captain Nemo was known for discovering all kinds of huge titans and beasts in the bottom of the ocean. That's the whole thing, the journey, the submarine, and the bottom of the ocean. You start seeing all kinds of crazy creatures at the bottom of the ocean. Okay? Well, that's where that comes from, and that's where Point Nemo happens to get its name from, the same place where this big old noise was found. Now, it doesn't take much to add A plus B plus C, but we're going to add a lot of other letters of the alphabet to this, okay? Because I want you to understand, there's at some point you got to understand the Bible does not teach coincidences, and part two is, well, at what point does coincidences happen to not be coincidences? Watch this, okay? We got a Nemo Point where the name comes from someone on this website this government ran. That comes from someone who discovers all these creatures and things at the bottom of the ocean. But, you know, a lot of people don't know that that same author turned around and, matter of fact, I want to show you because I don't want anybody to think I'm just blowing steam. Also did the same thing with Moby Dick. Check this out. I'm so glad I highlighted this. In 1962, Anthony Bonner published a translation of the novel with Bantam Classics. This edition included an introduction of Ray Bradbury comparing Captain Nemo to Captain Ahab in Moby Dick. Same thing. Now you got this Captain Ahab guy out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that's fighting big old giant whales. The great white whale, the beast. So I don't know if you see any coincidence here, but this is two stories about the same captain, both of them with these big beasts in the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. Strange. Make sure I'm still good on the screen share thing. Pretty nuts. Somebody says they have a bad connection. I'm very sorry. It might be even my end. I don't know. But I'm going to keep on pressing forward because we've got a whole lot to cover, because that is not even the only thing about this area that's significant. There's actually something really nuts that I had no idea was even a thing until today. Okay, so now that we've established Point Nemo is at the same place as this spot here, okay, because there was one here and there was one over there, okay, as we were talking about. I want to show you something else I discovered. You guys ever heard of the pole of inaccessibility? See, I want to see what you guys know about the pole of inaccessibility, just to see if you guys are following along with me. Does anyone know anything about the poles of inaccessibility? Am I referring to the North Pole and the South Pole? Just going to leave that there. I'm just curious because, see, I didn't know about this either. North Pole, there's poles. And apparently this pole is not at the North Pole or the South Pole. Anybody know anything about it? All right, well, watch this. We're going to learn something new today. A big old banana sandwich, okay? Let's check this out. Let's look at the poles of inaccessibility. All right, first let's look at this crazy in plain sight thing happening over here. I don't know if I like it though. It's kind of like a, ooh. Anyway, check this out. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, points out a pole of inaccessibility. Okay, now check this out. Map of distance to the nearest coastline. Hey, that's what we were just talking about, including oceanic islands but not lakes, with red spots marking the poles of inaccessibility of main land masses. Great Britain, and the Liberian Peninsula, and the blue dot marking the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. Do you guys see the blue dot? It's not this. It's not anything over here. The red dots are very distinctive. Let's look at the shapes of the red dots. There's a red dot there. Oh, my Lanta. Why is there a red dot talking about a pole of inaccessibility right there at the head of the United States of America? Well, that's interesting. It's almost right there by Denver, Colorado. But if you want to look up here, I wonder why there's a pole of inaccessibility right there in the middle of Greenland. And I wonder why there's a pole of inaccessibility right there in the head of the serpent that we've been covering here lately. And I wonder why there's a pole of inaccessibility here. And I wonder why there's a pole of inaccessibility. Whoop. You ready? Let me see. Right in our location at Nemo Point. And it looks like an eye too. It's kind of weird. You see it? There's a pole of inaccessibility at Nemo Point. Well, that's weird. Especially when you know about all the fishy stuff happening here that we've talked about. All the fishy stuff happening here that we've talked about. Wow. Let's look a little further. Not to mention there's one in Australia over here. Literally right in the middle of Australia. All these places. But I found this one very, very interesting because there's only one blue point up here. Literally. I've been looking all day long. Does anybody else see another blue point? Maybe you guys. Do you guys see another blue point? I don't see another blue point other than literally our point of Nemo out here. Let me go back to this chat and make sure you guys are following along. Okay. Awesome. Let's go a little further because, like I said, this is very, very strange as far as coincidences. Okay. I'm going to go a little further. So I want to point out all the points we've made so far, literally points. Okay. first thing is the location of the bloops, 2 of them. Then we got this Nemo Point, which is crazy because that happened to be a pole of inaccessibility. And it also happened to be Nemo Point tying into Captain Nemo and his discovery of underwater creatures, and also Captain Ahab and his discovery of underwater creatures, all happening in the same exact location. Pretty strange, if you ask me. I'm just going to say that there, but we're going to go on even further, okay? Because this hole gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Also, let's go. All right, so I'm done with this one. I'm done with this one. I just want to make some of you guys feel better about like time management, okay? This is what we have left. We're going to get there, okay? And there will be plenty of scriptures coming out tonight. Okay, so there's that and there's that. And like I said, do not forget, please do not forget, okay, about all the many movies about the island out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. For example, have you guys seen the new Aquaman yet? You want to talk about a banana sandwich. Do you know what happens in Aquaman? Well, they also go out into well, they call it the Antarctica area out there. They go out there to an area in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and they go down and literally awaken all this mess to come out accidentally. Okay, pretty crazy. And then you got the Atlantean Kingdom that comes up as well from the bottom of the ocean in the previous Aquaman, not the most recent one, but the one before. Same thing, going down, bringing up the beast from the bottom of the ocean. Like I've been trying to tell everybody, everybody's like, where's Atlantis? Atlantis, Atlantis. Atlantis is the face of Atlas. Atlas is the face of the deep that was here before. And Sunken City, the water kingdom that was there, the face of the deep. And we're going to be talking about that in depth here in a little bit. Don't jump to conclusions. But let's focus on where we're at. Captain Nemo. We got Point Nemo. We've got the point of inaccessibility. We also have the bloop, all in the same spot. Okay, let's fast forward. I'm going to get out of that one now. 20,000 leagues over this undersea we've talked about. That's a big old beast and a big old beast, both discovered by a captain. Now we're getting somewhere else. Okay. Now we got to talk about this eclipse that's coming and why I think that is very important. Okay. Oh man, thanks Chad so much for the support. Okay. But let's keep on going here, okay? Solar eclipse is on the way, okay? And let's dive into it a little bit. Let's see what we can find out here together, okay? First off, let's catch some people up on some things if they haven't been following along with the Facebook page. Let's just kind of put out the recent most obvious points that everybody's been talking about. Let's talk about the big one first, outside of the eclipse, okay? Let's talk about this one, okay? So right here, we see that slowly at CERN in Geneva, the Large Hadron Collider Particle Accelerator is coming out of its regular hibernation. Again, progress can be followed live on the CERN webpage. Now, check this out. Last week, for the first time since the annual winter shutdown, a first beam of protons briefly went around the accelerators full whatever. The first collisions of proton beams are expected on April 8th, the day of the eclipse. When all tests and fine-tuning of the machine are over, then the large CERN experiments involving colliding protons can resume their measurements. Now, okay, why is that a big deal? Well, you know me, I love to decode, okay? I don't know if you guys have ever watched any of the Flashes, like Flash Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, 7, and 8. Possibly 9, I can't remember. However, we know that in Season 1, Episode 1 of The Flash, we learn how the Flash and all the other meta-humans, like Metatron, got their powers and also came to be. Well, we know that Dr. Harrison Wells opened a lab, and in that lab he created a particle collider, a particle accelerator, and this was in what I believe is either San Francisco or New York, one of the two cities, the two main cities. or Hollywood or Vegas, one of the, I don't know. Anyway, it's taking place in one of those representations of cities. And the particle accelerator goes off, and next thing you know, it ruptures and backfires and shoots out a blast and creates a bunch of people that mix with whatever they're surrounded by. For example, if there was someone touching fire in the middle of this, like Firestorm, the superhero Firestorm, he got his powers from the same thing that happened as Flash. He's actually one of the only ones that got it from that. That's because he was touching fire when the particle accelerator exploded, and he absorbed whatever was around him, like the mixing of iron and clay, and like the mixing of the fallen angels with it, whatever they could touch. People think that the fallen angels only mixed with the women, but they didn't read the book of Enoch because it was apocrypha from their books, along with other books. And so they don't know really the full story, that the fallen angels didn't just mix with women. They mix with the plants and animals and things in the earth and under the earth. It is what it is. Anything they can get their hands on, they'd give everything a cursed half-life. It'd still have life, but they'd curse the other half of it. Okay? Well, let's talk about some other news. Another thing we should look at is there's 3 major experiments. Okay? This is talking about CERN. Like, at CERN, there's 3 experiments happening. Now, what I believe are these are 3 different portals, 3 different focal points. For some people who've been following along my page, they see where this is going, I think. The 3 major experiments, Atlas, Alice, and LHCb at CERN, in which Nakif is involved, report they are now also seeing the beams passing through their detectors. Separate detectors. Detectors at a different location. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, I've been telling you guys. Okay, what I believe on my page a lot. I'll show you again what I believe. I believe there is 3 portals in the abyss as far as the bottom of the ocean. Just remember, he separated the waters from the waters, and he pushed the deep beneath the sea and around the sea and above the sea. The deep is what was pushed out and around. Okay, and here's what I believe. First of all, I don't believe in a spinning ball of water. I believe this is a flat Earth projected map wrapped around a ball, just like NASA admits. Okay, so everything you're seeing here, just picture on something completely different than this globe. But watch this. Okay, here's what I believe. I don't know how you guys think that literally over half the world out here is water. Like, this is Pacific Ocean here. Okay. This is like what they're saying is that new world out there that we're going to go move into. Looks a lot like this, huh? Now, and I want you guys to keep this image here in your mind of these cyclones or whirlwinds here, because we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But out here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean lies a lot of things. Literally lies a lot of things. Like, look at this giant here, just out here lying and chilling in the bottom of the ocean with his feet, his legs, his knee, his arm, even his head, and even his little face there. That's crazy. You see his head, his face. He's not a happy camper. He got his nose and his eyebrow. All of it. See him there? You see all the other ones kind of scattered out like dead bodies, just scattered all in the bottom of the ocean? Like they got slung. Like they got flung out here in the middle of the ocean. Literally. You guys see all the little bodies, right? You can't deny it. Like the legs, the arms. Just repetitive. Because you'll see the first one, like, no, that's a coincidence. And you're looking at his whole family out here scattered behind him. And just to put in perspective, that's huge compared to that over there. Really big. There's a lot of them. Like an old war just took place. Anyway, so out here in the middle of this big old blob of ocean, I believe is one of the biggest openings of the abyss. And yes, I believe that it goes from here. And I believe that it's a crack. I believe that it's literally, I believe that a big portion of this is a prison for titans, for fallen angels. Then I believe there's this one. I believe that the Bermuda Triangle over here is a smaller opening in the earth. Then I believe it gets even smaller when you come over here to India. I believe this is a third opening in the earth. This is why I can take a globe right now and it says that the land does not match. I believe this is a portal here. Like I said, the smaller. And I believe this is a portal here. And I believe that the biggest of the portals is out here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Anywhere from Point Nemo up here to Japan, where we had all of that go on, which we'll be talking about as well. Yeah, Godzilla, all that stuff, Pearl Harbor. Well, I believe that's what's out here. 3 different portals, 3 different locations on the earth. Why do I believe that? Well, I've been telling some people so many times in your Bibles, it says right there. I don't want to quote scriptures without pulling it up for you guys. All you have to do is look up Peleg. Here's one splitting apart of land that happened, okay? And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Okay, there's one point when the earth was divided. We also know that during the Tower of Babel, there was a separation of tongues that took place. Whether or not it was a splitting apart, that is debatable. But however, we can also fit that in with the splitting apart of the earth when the flood happened. Okay, so the water can have somewhere to go back down into. There's 2 different points right there, because the Peleg part is a separate point than the flood, and also a separate point than the time of Nimrods. Okay, so those are 2 different times going on. Then we got this. When Christ returned, if you haven't caught up on the 1,000-year reign decode, please do so I don't have to constantly keep recapping that. But during that time, it said when he would return, he would straddle the land, and it would split apart and break apart one good time and separate the nations one more time. There's another splitting apart, made new again. 3 different ages, 3 different breaking aparts of the land, 3 different remodelings that took place there in the earth. Each time opening a chasm to the earth. Each one opening a section of the abyss, a chamber, a prison point, a opening. Okay. Now, let's go on a little further. This eclipse that's coming up is not just an eclipse. Okay. This one here is called the Great American Eclipse, which is crazy because Babylon the Great Mega must be made great again. And this is the Great North American, Great Land of the Feathered Serpent Eclipse. Okay. This one here happens to pass over the land of the Feathered Serpent in some very, very distinct locations that have been covered by a lot of truthers. For example, there's over 10 different locations of cities named Nineveh. I believe it's 10. There's different, also one of them, the first one it crosses into as far as the United States is Jonah, literally. And then Nineveh. And then it gets halfway through the crossing point. And you know what's there? The Ark in Kentucky and Little Egypt and Athena's little whole thing right there. All Memphis, that whole area in there. Okay. Then guess what? One thing a lot of people haven't put together is this. Do you know something else that passes over? Let me show you something. Well, it passes over this. It passes right over the Serpent Mound in Ohio. Do you guys know what the Serpent Mound is? The Serpent Mound is a burial ground. I don't care how you want to look at it. It is what it is. I believe the Native Americans over our government all day long. Okay. The Serpent Mound is a 1,348-foot long, 3-foot high prehistoric effigy mound located in Pebbles, Ohio. It was built on what is known as the Serpent Mount Crater Plateau, running along the Ohio Brush Creek in Adams County, Ohio. The mound is the largest serpent effigy known in the whole entire world. What is it? Well, this is the Serpent Mound, ladies and gentlemen. Let me show you the Serpent Mound. Okay, clear that off. Let's go 3D-ish. This right here is the Serpent Mound. That's in Ohio, if you can see it. Okay. Now they call it a Serpent Mound because it is indeed all built up on this mound, this hill, this plateau. Okay. But what's crazy about this whole thing is people aren't putting together this tie-in of ancient with this that goes even further back than Native American. Because see, what this is here is Apep, and that's the eclipse sun, and that's the mouth of Apep swallowing the sun, chasing the sun and swallowing the sun. Okay, this is Apep, the dragon, the serpent, Quetzalcoatl, Leviathan, Godzilla, whichever one you want to call them. I mean, you can go on with all kinds of dragon deities and other religions as well. But see, let's focus on Egyptian culture. In Egyptian culture, Apep is the serpent, the guardian of the abyss. Okay, that would journey through the underworld with Ra. Okay, as the guardian of the abyss, and also to protect and to fight. Just is what it is. And this is the eclipse sun. This isn't just a sun. This is a ring around an inner circle, as you see on the top of Ra's head, as a falcon form of Ra, or whichever form he takes. He has his sun disk on top of his head, but it's not just a sun disk. It's a red sun with a gold ring around it. It's eclipsed sun. It's an eclipse sun. Okay, this is Apep swallowing the sun. Why is that important as far as dealing with the eclipse? Well, one thing that's very important with Apep swallowing the eclipse is this. All right, well, this is important. NASA, the snake's tongue. See NASA with a snake's tongue through it right there? NASA, meaning to deceive, with its Saturn worship, Satan worship, its snake's tongue coming right through it, pronounced Nasha in Hebrew, means to deceive and or beguile. Let's see what they have to say here. NASA is to launch sounding rockets. Vibrations, frequencies, tones, boom, just to pick up different things happening in the atmosphere from a frequency, a sound. Okay. Now, let's see what's happening here. They're going to be launching these rockets into the moon's shadow during the solar eclipse. NASA will launch 3 sounding rockets during the total solar eclipse on April 8, 2024 to study how Earth's upper atmosphere is affected when sunlight momentarily dims over a portion of the planet. The atmospheric, whatever that word, around eclipse path, APEP, sounding rockets will launch from NASA's Wallop. You know, you get a Wallop flight facility in Virginia. Now, you need to understand, they're naming these 3 rockets APEP that they're shooting at the sun. Okay? I want to show you one more time who APEP is. APEP, Egypt. Go. Apep, also known as Apophis in Greek, was the Egyptian god of chaos. Do you know who else is chaos? Well, first I want to make sure you understand the rest of this. Apep was a polar opposite of the godly personification of order. It was wrath. It was chaos. Maat, and the chief enemy of the king of the gods and the sun god Ra. He took the form of the great snake, serpent, dragon, feathered serpent, Leviathan. The Egyptians believed that the sun was Ra traveling along a boat in the heavens. Okay, here we go. Let's see what else is the god of chaos. You ready? Let's just type in. Well, let's see what. I don't want to get on Reddit. Trying to see what to pull up here. No way. More space stuff tying in the same things. It's crazy what NASA will put right in front of you. Okay. Let me go in the Bible instead. I think I would rather do. Watch this. Do you know what the whole point of this is? This Revelation 9:11. Let's just jump on to the point. Okay. Let me highlight it so you can read this along with me. Now we know that Leviathan / Apep / whatever you want to call him is the guardian of the great deep. Why? Well, there was darkness, there was chaos, there was void, there was wrath over the face of the deep at the beginning. You got to understand that. Okay. Deep is a deity mentioned throughout your whole Bible. Okay. That's the darkness. Well, that was here, but God separated that. He pushed all that aside. He moved all that and separated, broke down, tore apart, everything. Okay, separated. And what was left was water. And what the water remained, he gathered together and called the sea. And then he pulled up the land. Okay, then Pangea emerged. Okay, So here we go. This is what I want you to read. And we also know that tie in with 9/11, okay, with actual 9/11. And it's strange that this is where 9/11 takes us to in Revelation. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongue was Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. Okay, now, who is Abaddon? Here we go. Load. I hope this loads. Please. Maybe I gotta refresh it. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, there we go. All right, so check this out. Abaddon is a biblical fallen angel, sometimes the angel of death and sometimes the angel of destruction. Death and destruction. He is notably mentioned to have had an army of locusts. That's what I was talking about in Revelation chapter 9. Okay, but what I want you to focus on is he's the angel of death, angel of destruction, the bringer of destruction, the bringer of wrath, the bringer of chaos. And he's got this locust army that follows. I say that because there are the cicadas that are following the eclipse. The 200-year cicadas, locusts, follow this eclipse. Literally, some of them are going to start happening right in between, and even recently now in some places. But what I want you to see this is Abaddon, okay, is the bringer of death, bringer of destruction. But did you know that Abaddon is also in Godzilla? Strange. Abaddon was dubbed Titanus Abaddon, and he is a giant daikaiju created by the Legendary Pictures that appears in Legendary's 2019 film Godzilla, King of the Monsters, as a name briefly seen on the monitor. Okay, I'm going to show you guys a clip of that. Okay, this one's kind of crazy. There's 3 clips we're going to go through right now. Okay, the first one I posted on my page a while back. It was from Hercules. I think I want to start with that one first, because during this eclipse, you need to know that, hopefully I've got it pulled up. Yes, that April 4th, 4 days before, is when they are perfectly aligned, but there's going to be a planetary alignment taking place. Okay, not just the alignment that's taking place on the eclipse, but there's also a complete alignment taking place on the 4th, where Venus, Neptune, Saturn, and Mars all align with the morning sky. Okay, morning sky. That is very important because, once again, not only does it fall around the eclipse, but that's within only 4 or 5 days, there's 2 alignments happening. There's a whole planetary alignment, then there's an eclipse alignment going on there. So this first clip I want to share with you guys comes from Hercules. Okay, let's see if I can get this pulled up and working. Let me rewind. Pause throughout so I won't get any type of whatever restriction more on this like I got on Facebook. First of all, let's start here. Okay, I'm going to get my screen share pulled up. Well, I think this should actually, yes, it's lined up. So what you see here is your planetary alignment taking place. Okay, all in a line here. And then it shows you here, planets in a line. So there was the blue beam coming down. There's this. That is a shadow. Okay? That is a shadow coming down. That is an eclipse coming down. Okay? That's not just a beam of black. That's an eclipse coming down. And this isn't just an eclipse just anywhere, but this is right off land. Okay? You can see over to the left of your screen, you actually have land out there. This is out in the middle of the ocean, middle of an ocean. Okay? You have this shadow come down, and it opens a whirlwind, a portal. In your Bibles, if you look up the word whirlwind, for example, watch, I'm just going to type in whirlwind. Watch how many times the word whirlwind pops up and what it relates to. I think I was supposed to put that in one. Yes, I was. Okay, look. Whirlwinds in the Bible are always portals. Okay, look. Someone was taken up in a whirlwind of fire and a chariot of fiery horses. Okay, now watch this. Elijah was taken into heaven by a whirlwind. There's another one. Now here we go again. Wait, I don't think I'm screen sharing with you guys. Hold on. I want to Sorry, it's so hard to keep up with this by myself. But check this out. We're pausing that and moving on to here real quick because I want you guys to tie this in with the film. Okay. We have the whirlwind of fire, someone being taken up. You have Elijah being taken up in a whirlwind. Okay. You have a wind that's carrying him away, which same thing, whirlwind. You have the whirlwind of the Lord going forth with fury. This is the Lord's presence being there from his throne. He'll speak down through the whirlwind, through the portals as well. And continuing whirlwind. And we can go on and on and on about whirlwinds, portals that are in your Bible. Okay. Like I say, I bring that up because of this scene that we're on right now. Okay. This is a whirlwind. This is a portal opening. Do you know what's very interesting about this whirlwind, this portal opening? Well, guess what happened in Kong, the new one that I just watched? Hold on. I want to make sure you guys see how in plain sight things are. And this new empire, Godzilla, do you know how they brought the Titans up from the hollow earth underneath the earth? Well, they opened a whirlwind, a portal, literally, right here in front of you guys. You can see it. Same thing. They go, Kong jumps in, they fly in right after him, and next thing you know, they go into what is the upside down in Stranger Things, or what is a mysterious journey to the mysterious island in the center of the earth, all those things in plain sight. Well, this is how they also entered a whirlwind, a portal that opened up so they could go into the heart of the earth. They even have the blue, electric, all the same things going on that you see in the clip we're watching right now. Okay, so let me get this off your screen. I wanted to just show you that because it was kind of weird. Portal is opening.
Brothers! Titan! Look at you in your squalid prison!
Now, I'm going to keep pausing because I don't want it to get copyright. This is where the fallen Titans were trapped and imprisoned, okay? If you guys have been following along on any of my Enoch studies and stuff like that, we know that in Enoch, he speaks specifically about the 10% of the Titans that were left behind and also the ones that were prisoned. We also know, and the ones that were left behind were in charge of cutting down the trees and things like that, by the way, too, which is cool to know. But we also know that there were some that were put down in chains to be used at a later time. They had jagged rocks placed over their face. Why? Well, to be uncovered at a later time, to be brought up. What's crazy is about the jagged rocks placed over their face is the fact that we see literally petrified giant rock faces all over the United States and world. Literally. I've posted them on my page here recently. Okay, you see the jagged rocks placed over their face. I think that's a word for petrification as well. Hold still, stand still, lock. So anyway, you have Titans. It's a real thing. Trapped, imprisoned, to be used as wrath in the later years in life. Okay. And if you've been following along with my Pacific Rim decode on Facebook, all this should be making sense to you because Pacific Rim is one of those movies that's also in plain sight. So let's go a little further. Titans imprisonment. You know what's funny about these two things here? Parasites, okay? These are parasites. You can look at their mouth, their head, their eyes, their points, everything bugs. Do you know what's funny? I've been talking about the worm in the fire that shall not die that's mentioned. That's the worms, the parasites. You know what's crazy is those two little things right here. And one of the scenes, they crouch down, they say, "We are worms," and turn into worms right in front of. Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Let's keep going.
Who put you
Blue flame fire to pink flame fire. Very important transition there happening with Hades. Why? Well, let's see if I got it. I don't know if you guys have been following along with Godzilla and stuff, but we know that. Nope, I don't have a picture up here yet. I'll show you in a minute. Some blue to pink.
And now that I set you free, what is the first thing you are going to do?
Destroy. Now, what we have here isn't just your average Titans. We have beasts bringing earth, water, wind, fire. You have your bringer of frost and freeze. You got your whole fire and ice mixing going on here. You got your freezing going on. You got your earthquakes going on. You've got your volcanoes going off. earthquakes, earth-shattering, earth-breaking. Freezing's going on here, which is strange. Did you watch the new Ghostbusters Empire? I've got to do a decode on that too. It was nuts, all the stuff in plain sight. Same thing, fire and ice. Literally, there was a fire god that can control fire, and then there was the ice-breathing demon, and they were battling at New York. Freezing and burning. Same thing going on here. Now, let's go further. Oh. This one's very important, because listen to what he says. Melt Zeus. Research meltology. I tell people all the time, you guys better research what happened and the petrification of the blue flame fire, and also the petrification that took place in Pompeii, the petrification that took place when God came through his son on the clouds of fire with wrath. Okay. Now this is important. Now we've got the whirlwinds blowing, the hurricanes, tornadoes, complete destruction. Yeah, all coming up on land. But you know what's funny? You see 4 here. Watch this.
Olympus
All of a sudden, now let's go into Olympus, by the way. Now we got a Cyclops that just happens to appear. Have you guys ever seen what's that Jack Black movie about where he's a giant and goes in the whirlwind, the portal to the other world? I don't even remember. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Same thing. Cyclops, cyclone, whirlwind, portal.
I have a special job for you, my optic friend.
Now this is important. You see this is Mount Olympus. Let me get my screen share up here real quick, because this is one of my favorite topics. Hidden in plain sight lands. See, when people think about Mount Olympus, they're like, okay, maybe this isn't America. Maybe we don't have nothing to worry about here, because Mount Olympus is not in America. Neither is Hela, his wife Hela. Don't you know the story of Zeus? Zeus, well, he prisoned the Titans. This is before even this Hercules cartoon, okay? Zeus literally prisoned Titans at the bottom of the ocean, and they broke free and came upon the land. So Zeus and all the other gods, Apollyon, Apollos, all of them come down from the mountain, and they battle with these Titans, these giants, okay? And they're fighting and fighting and fighting. From Mount Olympus, he's throwing his lightning bolts out into the ocean, to the sea, from Mount Olympus, until they come up even closer. Okay, it all takes place right there. Well, let's show you something, okay, about why America is hidden view of the old Bible. See, we're the land of the Bible. I don't know how people don't understand. Watch this. Mount Olympus, USA. Now we know that Zeus was married to Hela, hence Hel. Hela and Zeus produced Hercules. Okay? Now, here's Mount Olympus, and guess where it is? Well, in Washington State, because you know you gotta cross the Oregon Trail to get to the Promised Land, and this is Washington State, where the first ever Trump Tower was erected, by the way, and a lot of other crazy things. And Miss M, hey Miss M, I know you're around here somewhere, but check this out. Mount Olympus out here is not only Mount Olympus right by the ocean, like I was telling you, and you can kind of see like this crazy setup it's got going on here. Like I was literally just like right here as a guardian, but you also have Hela, his wife. Watch this. Right beside him is Zeus and Hela. See, here's Mount Hela, side by side, both volcanoes. Boom and boom. You got Zeus and his wife Hela. Okay, you know what's really interesting about this though? Crazy is Hela is another word for the mother giving birth to the child, okay? But also because she has to be the descendant of Eve. Also, remember, she gave birth to all lines, good and bad, came through Eve. It just is what it is, okay? She gave birth to Cain too, who killed his brother. Okay, Hela is the other word for Eve / Isis / all the other abominational mothers, okay, that you have. Well, she gives birth. Do you know what's crazy about a volcano? Is a volcano also, as you see over here, gives birth to stuff. Now, why is that important? Well, St. Helens, along with Yellowstone, are the two projected to erupt here in America if that was to take place. That would be giving birth to something. And I don't think it would be just fire and lava and volcanoes. Do you know why? All right, let's look at another movie together. Actually, let's make sure we finish this one out real quick. I don't think anything else happened. Okay, yeah. Here's this next one I want you to see. This is important about your volcanoes. If you read the Book of Enoch talks about the portals to the literal prison, Tartarus, the prison of the underworld, the prison of the chamber from underneath, okay? It talks about it. And it talks about different locations, different entrances. Well, in Godzilla, they opened up 3 different portals into the underworld. One was in Egypt, one was that water location I just showed you, and the other one would have had 2 right underneath the headquarters point, which I don't know where that is. It's kind of a hidden spot. I believe it's down there by Nemo Point, that island. So here we go. This is what I want you to watch next. Pay attention. And I'm going to be pausing a lot because I don't want to get copyright. Watch what happens here. Now, do you remember earlier I showed you this? Well, where is it at? The Abaddon, that Abaddon was mentioned in the 2019 film, and that he was seen on the screen as Abaddon, the one who emerges and fights and all these other things. Well, check this out. Watch how this one emerges in this 2019 film of Godzilla. You would think that that's a volcano, right? Like, as a civilian, looking up at the top of the volcano, you're like, I'm not going to go up there. I don't have to go up there. It's clearly a volcano on top, not an imprisonment with a containing source on top, trapping something in there, right? Now, do you see these here? I want you to think about frequency towers today, first of all. And I'll leave that at that. This is the top of the volcano. This is literally a safeguard vault. Okay? This is a vault on top of the volcano to keep something contained. See? See the volcano? See the vault? I've also been telling people about the giant biblical tree stumps, and I believe they're portals too because of, for example, if you guys ever saw Sleepy Hollow, well, that's how the devil figured come out of the underworld, is through the tree, the weeping tree. The scary tree. If you watched Stranger Things, you know that the way that the demigorgons, the demons, come out of the underworld is through the tree. It came through a tree portal. We also know that, like, I mean, so many movies, the same thing going on. Tree portal, tree portal, tree portal, tree portal. Okay? Trees give life. Whew. Now, let me go on a little further here, okay? I wanted to bring that up because this is where the Abaddon emerges from the volcano and starts to destroy and has to fight Godzilla and everything else. That's the 2019 film there. Okay? However, we're going to be looking at other stuff. Okay? Notice how this version of Abaddon emerged from the volcano. Okay? It's important because of our next clip we're going to be watching here. I showed this one at the beginning of the stream tonight, but I'm going to show it for 162 of you now, okay? While I have 162 of you up here, if you guys could go on and hit that like button and subscribe button, that would be fantastic. Hit the notification bell, and we're going to continue forward. But let's check this out. Number 3 tie-in with this.
It's yours.
First of all, let's talk about Thor. What we've been talking about with the blonde hair, blue eye symbolism, and also the one eye symbolism of that's just been covered all throughout with the half-life, cursed life of the Vril Society. Okay, you give your life halfway up. Odin, his dad, also has a one eye going on here. Thor goes and takes someone else's eye that he finds out in a galaxy and puts it in his own eye to become his second sight. Okay, and that eye happens to be blue as well. But you see this same thing going on. This is Thor the hero.
Whatever game you're playing, it won't
This is Hela. Okay.
work. You can't defeat me.
No, I know.
And this is Abaddon emerging, but watch how he emerges. Second one.
No.
This is Abaddon, destroyer of worlds. Like I said, here his Thor with his lightning bolt hitting the bridge, the portal. Lightning and the portals. This is a bridge portal. Gateway. He broke the bridge. What's incredible about this is, see, I want you to get through this. His whole purpose in life was to emerge in the end day and destroy and disrupt everything on Asgard. He is Abaddon, the bringer of destruction, the destroyer of worlds that's emerging in the end to bring destruction to Asgard. But what's crazy is, watch, the chosen people are brought away into the heavens. You guys read about the two witnesses? Well, the two witnesses die. They're humiliated in the streets for 3 days. We talked about this, Peter and Paul. And the next thing you know, you hear the shout. They call it the saints to the heavens, like they had eyewitnesses accounts. People going missing. They could even hear the shout and the temple lighting up in the middle of the night. We've documented all that on our channel. But this is the symbolism of that too. Well, the elect chosen people being taken off to the third heavens to meet up with the saints as New Jerusalem comes down at the very, very end. That's what's happening here too. Now listen to this.
People are safe. It's all that matters.
We're fulfilling the prophecy.
We're fulfilling the prophecy.
I hate this prophecy.
I hate it too.
So do I, but we have no
Me too.
choice. CERN destroys Asgard, he destroys Hela so that our people...
Destroys Asgard destroys Hela. Destroys death and Hades. If you didn't put that together.
may live. But we need to let him finish the job, otherwise...
And then it gets really corny.
No. I'll stop you, moron!
Okay. There's hell coming from the abyss. Literally. She gets destroyed.
Bed.
Oh yeah. Everything destroyed. Petrified.
The damage is not too bad. As long as the foundations are still strong, we can rebuild this place. It will become a haven for all peoples and aliens of the universe.
Oh, no, it's not. Completely destroyed.
Nah, those foundations are gone. Sorry.
And what's crazy is he's an in plain sight, literal petrified giant, by the way, holding a parasite. If I haven't put that together. The greens, the blues, the grays, also. Simple. Okay. So now we've gone through those. Let me remove this from the screen. Pull this back up here and get my screen share back going. So we got some more stuff to look into. So like I said, there is an alignment of planets going on twice within only a week from each other. There's this whole thing going on with Nemo Point and all this stuff in the ocean. But then there's, and also there's the fact that the eclipse is passing over the Serpent Mound, the biggest serpent mound in the world. Okay, in Ohio. During this whole thing as well. Am I saying that Serpent Mound is going to come to life and something? No, I don't know. Okay, I'm just showing you guys what I'm seeing right in front of my face. And I'm hoping you guys are seeing it too. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so like I said, we talked about the eclipse and the fact that it passes over there. Look at this crazy thing here, guys. I mean, nuts. Completely covers the United States. Like, it couldn't have went in a more perfect place. I know the total eclipse that's not a totality view the whole way across. What I'm saying is this. But do you notice something? How is it the sun's coming up around here? Now, you see it, right? The blue, the dark blue going away, as in the daytime, as in the sun's here, supposedly. I want to start over. The sun should be here, 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 sun should be here. Now, do you know what should be behind the sun? Well, the moon. Nothing should be coming from this way. How's nobody? I mean, are y'all putting that together or not putting that together? The fact that this thing here comes from over here and goes up that way, but the sun and the moon go from east coast to west coast. And yet this one's doing the complete opposite. And you see the sun still way over. I want to make sure you guys are seeing this. Pretty nuts. Okay. I just think that's a crazy thing going on here. I believe that it's not the moon causing an eclipse. And I want to keep reiterating that on my Facebook page and this page, that I do not think that this is a moon that is eclipsing. Okay, I believe this is the true chariot of Ra. Everybody's like, it's Nibiru and the Anunnaki are going to come and save us. Look, Nibiru is nothing other than the chariot of Ra, the chariot of Satan, and it's been renamed for the New Age. Do you know what else has been renamed for the New Age? Anunnaki. The Anunnaki are the descendants of Cain through Anak, which are also a pure-blood Nephilim fallen race. Yes, they taught men how to do fancy stuff and everything else. That's what the fallen angels do. But if you fell for New Age, Nibiru, and everything else, you better wake up. Nibiru's not coming. The Anunnaki's not coming. Satan and his legion of demons are going to be poured out onto the earth. Let's keep on going. Okay. So we covered that. We covered the Serpent Mound. We covered Mount St. Helens, right by Mount Adam. Okay. We've covered all this stuff here, and we've covered the Serpent Mound thing. But something else I want to cover is this. Okay. Fun fact. Okay. Right here, Durango, this area here, right in the center of Mexico. Now, this is what's crazy, because I wanted to remind you that what I was just showing you from Godzilla took place here. Okay. Took place right here. And this is where something emerged from a volcano and brought destruction and this and this and this. Well, I want to ask you guys something that I know some of you guys do see, because I've asked you and you've seen it before in Messenger and stuff. Let's take a good hard look at this thing here and see if you guys see something buried in plain sight. There's going to be a total darkness right here. Total here. Right here. Okay? At the head of something. I need you to think scales. I need you to think feathers. Okay? Now, follow this thing right here around. Boom. Boom. Let's look over here. What does some of this stuff look like to you? You think that looks natural at all? Like curving around, curving back, down. And then it's down here as well. And then it's right back down this way. And you see the same little slithery type pattern going on here, literally. Let's zoom out and force it further so you can see it even better. Right here. There's going to be a total darkness right here. Do you not see this big old berry thing right here? I mean, I don't know if you guys see it like I see it. I just think this is pretty crazy looking. And what's even crazier is it almost looks like it branches off here and here. Like the two heads of mentioned of Leviathan, multiple heads of certain Titans have multiple heads, things like that. But then I want you to come up here and also look. I've pointed this out to so many people. Okay. Do you not see the big sleeping giant in the middle of America? Literally in the middle of America? And I'm not talking about this one mirrored on this side, but I'm talking about the one here on this side. See, the whole reason why this cutout here of the head, the hat, the shirt, the pants, the shoe, you see it, right? There's his hat. There's his nose. There's his lips. There's his collar of his shirt. There's his pants. That I'm not talking about the in plain sight one here. I'm talking about this real Titan that's back other way here, where you've got his head here, his eyes and his nose, his face, his whole head literally right there, his shoulder blade, his shoulders all curved out there to the side, even his little leg here and his foot stuck up down there. Have you seen this Titan on top of the other Titans that's just laid out here in the middle of the United States? And you can see it from way out here. You can actually see it a little better from here. Do you know what else is in Wyoming? Devil's Tower. Okay. What's crazy is this. You ready? Don't let this freak you out, please. I want to make sure everybody knows that I'm not presenting any of this stuff to try and scare anybody, but instead to make people understand that stuff like this is mentioned throughout your Bible, and it's important that if anything, you're going to be more prepared for things than unaware, and men's hearts will fail them with fear, with lack of understanding and knowledge in the end, is what he says. Okay, don't be those people. Check this out. At some point before 2019, Monarch established an outpost around Abaddon in Devil's Tower, Wyoming. When Ghidorah calls all the Titans, Abaddon breaks free and begins to hunt with its new pack. That's what we saw. During the rampage, the Titan was later faced off with Mothra. This one was the one that was released for the first time in this Godzilla that I just watched yesterday. Mothra was the savior that came in at the end. I'm sorry for spoiling, but I don't really care about Hollywood and what they got going on. Mothra was one of the ones that came in to save. So it's a build up to what's taking place next. See, the next Godzilla that's coming out is going to be Abaddon. No joke. It's already predicted right here. After the fight against Kemzarts, whatever. When the Orca calls all Titans to Boston, Abaddon does not arrive. Now think about what just took place in Boston. Abaddon does not arrive in time for the battle and does not see Godzilla because the new alpha of all Titans. See Godzilla become the new alpha of all Titans. But check this out. So Abaddon does not know that Godzilla is the king when he emerges. But check out this trivia down here. Instead of calling it the Devil's Tower, here's what they say. The location of Abaddon was hibernating under is a sacred site to the region's Native American tribes. And the correct name of it is Bear's Teepee. The Devil's Tower is called Bear's Teepee in Native American tongue. And it is said to have been created by or the home of a giant bear. Weird. Okay, so it's weird that whole Devil's Tower, Wyoming, even has a tie-in to a beast titan bear. Okay, before they called it Devil's Tower, it was referred to in the Native American to being something like that. So little further here. My next point I want you guys to check into. Oh yes, we're going to go through a little bit of this together. This is the main thing. Man, I really meant to start off with this. Okay. If you've been following along my page, you know that I believe 1000% that America is the Rome, the Egypt, and the promised land of the Bible. And I've uncovered a lot of mess here on YouTube and my Facebook page to back up that claim. If you want to go check it out and hear my full point of view, it's a couple of hours worth of evidence I kind of lay out. However, because I believe that, I found this very interesting. It's time to tie in this new Godzilla thing completely. You ready for this? Now, you won't believe what in the world Godzilla made his home. The very first fight of Godzilla takes place in Rome. Literally. Like, in Rome. Let's go to the beginning. Okay? Not this one. Okay? Check this out. Here's Godzilla and Rome right here. Okay? This is nuts because Godzilla sleeps. Like when he first comes up, he fights this big crustacean thing, this big lobster thing. The first Titan he fights is a unclean animal. It's crazy. A big old crab thing comes up in Rome, and Godzilla's first place he comes up in this movie is in Rome. He comes up, takes out this big old crab lobster looking thing, destroys it, and then he goes and hibernates in the Colosseum. He literally balls up in a ball in the Colosseum. Let me see here. I hope I have. I think I have. Please have it. Man, I don't think I have a picture. It's so hard to get any video stuff out until the movie gets further released without getting copyrighted. I can't go and just like kind of pick apart of screen record or something like that. So you may have to wait a little longer for video stuff, but you need to know this, okay? Godzilla's first thing he does is come up in Rome. First target of the whole thing. Comes up in Rome, takes out this lobster. Everybody's complaining about the destruction of Godzilla in Rome, okay? And in the meantime, Godzilla goes and curls up in a fetal position, looking like a dragon eating its tail, and hibernates inside the Colosseum, balled up in a ball for an extended period of time. Literally. They say it right in your face, too. So he's over there sleeping in the middle of the Colosseum in Rome after he defeated his first Titan in this movie. And in the meantime, Godzilla's on the other side. I mean, Kong's on the other side going through his whole thing as well. Okay? But after Godzilla hibernates in Rome for a little bit, Kong goes down to the Hollow Earth. They even call it the Hollow Earth the whole time throughout Godzilla, this new one. Kong goes down into the Hollow Earth, and when he's into the Hollow Earth, he goes to the lower parts of Hollow Earth, which is Hades, the bad part, where there's fire and lava and bad. So he goes down there, and that's how he meets that big red-headed orangutan-looking titan. Okay, that one has light blue possessed eyes as well. Okay, but he goes on there and he disturbs what's happening, and that ape brings up this guy, Shimu. Okay, this is Shimu. Shimu is supposedly the strongest of all titans ever. Okay, and it has been chained and imprisoned in the abyss at the very bottom of Hades. This is it's chained, and it was imprisoned and trapped. Okay, do you know what's nuts? Do you know what this one is referred to? Well, check this out. No coincidence here. Shimu is a Japanese word meaning frost or gray hair. Shimu also means hole or abyss. Wow. Do you know that Shimu, just as it describes in Job, with its light coming from its mouth, its light coming from its eyes, and its scales that are impenetrable and everything else? Well, it falls right into this whole description of this beast here, the most powerful, and is also referred to as the destroyer. Okay? Crazy. Like crazy. So here's him, and he's the one who's brought up to destroy, and he's called the Ender of Worlds. Okay? In the movie Godzilla, they say that Titan right there that you were seeing, Shimu the Destroyer, Shimu the Destruction, Shimu was the one that brought on the last ice age, is what it says. Who caused the last ice age, the last petrification, the last freezing that took place. It says was Shimu. Pretty strange, huh? Most powerful one being brought up, set loose by chains to come up to bring destruction. Godzilla has to stop it, but at the end, they team up together and turn on the possessed orangutan, which is crazy. I don't want to spoil too much for you guys, though. So there's that. Okay. Why is that also important? Okay. That is important because it falls right in line with the scripture we were talking about earlier. Okay. Revelation 9:11. And they had a king over them in these days, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, the abyss, the hole, the Shimu. But in the Greek tongue has his name Apollyon, meaning destroyer, meaning bringer of destruction, bringer of wrath. Okay? Now, it's important to tie all that in together. Let's see. I think it actually mentions. Yeah, here we go. Now, let's see some other things that happen at this bottomless pit. Okay? Realize, guys, I've been telling you there are multiple entrances into this abyss, as mentioned in Enoch. Okay? Now, here's why that's important. One of the abysses, I believe, is in the ocean, but then there's the one I was just showing you that's in the top of the volcano-looking tree stump. This one would be like this, a great furnace with smoke. Watch this, guys. The fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, and a smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason. Let me make sure you guys remember. I think that's exactly what we're seeing right there, just in case you didn't know. Okay? The sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke from the pit. Now, and there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth to have power, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass on the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God on their foreheads. This is the separation of the tares from the wheat that happens at the end of the very end of time. Remember, it says, at the time of harvest, first go and remove the tares from among them, and then gather my wheat into my barn. What is his barn? Well, that's New Jerusalem that comes down after the short season of Satan. not the 1,000-year reign of temporary peace and also people still dying, death, sin, and Hades still present in the world. Only thing not present was Satan for a short time. 1,000 years. Great White Throne Judgment doesn't happen until after the short season, which is after the 1,000-year reign. That's when New Jerusalem comes down and everything's rolled up like a scroll. Okay? What happens at that point in time is when the tares and the wheat are separated. Okay? The tares have the mark of Satan on their forehead. And the children of God have his mark. And if you're looking for a physical mark, ask yourself, am I a child of God? Do I have a physical mark on my forehead? Can I see it? No. Okay? You can't see his mark. You're probably not going to see the enemy's mark either. Just so you know that. You can't claim one and deny the other. Okay? So they're going to go out and they're going to start picking through the flock. I hope you are marked with God. There's only one time that he marks his people. Only one time that he gives them a sign for all generations. Okay? And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of the scorpions. And in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Okay? Now, these locusts can be like cicadas, or these locusts can be like parasites, demons, creatures. Read how they describe these locusts, and you tell me if they sound like locusts. They had breastplates. The breastplates were of iron. The sound of their wings was the sound of chariots of many horses. Cicadas are very loud, and they had tails like unto scorpions. Have you seen any cicadas like this? Any locusts like this? And there were stings in their tails, and the power was to hurt men 5 months. See? Crazy stuff. But all that stuff that comes out of some type of smokestack furnace thing that happens when the abyss is open. Right there in your Bibles. Okay? When Abaddon and his locust army. It's crazy. It's all right there. Come out. So we've talked about that. We've talked about Shimo, the destroyer. We talked about Godzilla and the fact that he slept at Rome. Now, I about forgot. Okay. Oh man, I should have screen shared. I don't think I was screen sharing that whole time. I'm very sorry. Check this out real quick. Okay. This is why I wanted to bring up Godzilla sleeping at Rome. First thing he attacked was Rome, and then he slept in Rome in the Colosseum. So what happens is this is nuts, okay? After he destroys that area, he was trying to destroy the enemy, but instead he destroyed Rome in the process. They even talk about it. What happens is he gets woken up and he has to go somewhere else. So you see Godzilla get out of Rome and he goes and finds a nuclear power plant. When he goes to the nuclear power plant, he starts biting into everything and absorbing all the radiation he can. Therefore, Godzilla starts turning pink into overdrive. So Godzilla, guess what he does? Godzilla returns back into the ocean and swims to the Arctic Circle. Do you know what he does up there? Well, he finds Tiamat, who's right there in your Bibles as well. Crazy. Tiamat was also a serpentine of the deep. First thing Godzilla does is goes after Tiamat and bites him all apart and shreds him to pieces. Okay, and takes on the power of him. So he becomes like this ultimate Godzilla, literally. And so after he destroys Tiamat, guess what Godzilla does, guys? Well, he goes and hibernates in ice. Freezes himself in ice. He's just frozen there in a capsule, literally capsulated. It's crazy to me, okay? Because now we need to think about this. First, he destroyed Rome. Then he went and had a nuclear power absorption. Let's think what I've been telling you guys about Pearl Harbor, okay? Then after a nuclear power event, he goes from there to the Arctic Circle and he hibernates in the ice until he's needed again. So Godzilla goes and he gets in the ice and he's hibernating and charging up and everything for a short time. And the next thing you know, he comes up one more time from the ice to go back and to finish his task of killing that other creature and to finish the movie. Why is that important? Well, I told you guys. Something's happened in history, big destructions. There's been cities that were literally purged and melted and petrified all over the place. Lot of destruction. We know that God uses things, including his own son, who comes on clouds of fire to bring wrath. We know that in Job, he says he literally created Leviathan to display his power when he comes in the end, and the great and final battle between God and Leviathan, and God slays Leviathan at the very end of time, takes place. And that's where we are now. Okay? One thing you guys need to understand is that passage can't be overlooked in Isaiah and Job. When it talks about Leviathan, and it talks about Leviathan being there, and it talks about him being in prison, and it also talks about that great and final day when Leviathan would emerge, but God would come and slay that ancient serpent, that ancient dragon, that ancient Leviathan. And it's weird because that great white throne, that's when Satan is finally taken and tossed in the lake of fire forever. If you're putting that together in your head a little bit. Okay, now, I wanted something to kind of dig into a little bit further, just to tie in Godzilla to Rome. Because like I said, I believe the world has a lot of destruction coming. Not just, I don't think, look, now I want to make one thing very clear while I have 148 of you here, 8 of you up here. I have not once said the world is coming to an end April 8th. I do not believe that whatsoever. I don't believe that day is just going to be like, shablam, it's going to be it. Nope. I believe what it is a wake-up preparation for what follows. I honestly think, if anything, you guys should be really, truly keeping your eyes on Pentecost. And I say that, I'm saying, like, I would put everything back to maybe like Passover being during the Passover of the angel of darkness, the angel of death, like the Passover of Egypt. I told you guys, it's no coincidence that this happens at the exact same time as back then, supposedly. Okay, I would be observing Passover during the Passover of this eclipse. Okay, and I would also pay attention to tend to the whole 40 days afterwards. Do you know why? Well, at Pentecost in 66 AD, well, that's when they had their red heifer sacrificed a little bit before. They also had their lamb sacrificed. And we know in 66 AD, Peter and Paul were killed at the hands of Rome. Same time all those things were documented of people seeing and hearing and witnessing things going on that we've covered. Okay. That all took place around Pentecost. Okay. All documented at the same time, Pentecost. Okay. I believe that this eclipse is maybe the start of something. I don't even know if anything will take place that day as far as like crazy stuff. I think that it is a sign, and you're meant to see it and prepare and repent and prepare your family, your loved ones, and to stay focused. Okay. I believe that we're stepping foot into World War III. I believe the whole important thing of understanding that the 1,000-year reign behind us is to understand that you guys right now are in the great wars of Gog and Magog. The 4 corners of the earth split in 2 called Gog and Magog. You're in the third, you're about to be in the third one. World War I, which is all of the 4 corners, World War I, World War II, and soon to be the great and final battle, World War III. Do you know what's interesting about this whole thing? Is when you look at Revelation chapter 20, and we are about to close here in a minute. Just hang in there and bear with me just a couple of minutes. When we look here at Revelation chapter 20, got to notice what the last thing that happens is. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out and deceive the nations which are the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. They went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed, surrounded the camp of the saints about and the beloved city. When they surrounded it, then fire came down and devoured them. Okay? I want you to keep this in mind. No, and by the way, and after that happens, after fire comes down and devours them, which is the wrath of God, the wrath of God. Anytime fire comes down, has the wrath of God coming down, whether it's the fire coming down through his son, okay, or the fire coming down on Sodom and Gomorrah. Fire coming down is always wrath of God. Comes down and devours them. Check this out. And then the devil that deceives them is cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever. And then it's the great white throne judgment. This is where the everything on the face of the earth rolled up and run away from the great white throne and New Jerusalem coming down from the sky. Okay? So, I bring this up because of this. I found something crazy. Do you guys know who this man is here? Hannibal. Okay. Hannibal supposedly is, let me see if I can, I thought I had it highlighted. Oh man. I don't want to have to skim through this. All right, check this out, okay? Do you know that Hannibal means Bel? B-A-A-L. Bel is gracious, is what the word Hannibal means. It also means the grace of Bel is what Hannibal means. And Bel is gracious, and Bel has been gracious is what the word Hannibal means. This is Hannibal, the one who uprose against Rome. This is crazy, okay? This man here is known as one of the biggest generals, captains, the greatest general that ever was. You see it right here. Hannibal, who was the greatest general that was, to which Hannibal replied, either Alexander and Pyrrhus, then him. So he puts those two above him and then himself. He even considers himself in the top three. However, Hannibal is considered one of the greatest military tacticians and generals of antiquity, along Alexander the Great and Cyrus and Julius Caesar and all these other Nephilim real society members. So the thing about Hannibal is Hannibal was known for leading this uprising rebellion against Rome, like fighting against Rome. They surrounded Rome. But check out what I found. Okay. X out of that. Show you this. You guys ever heard of? Now I need you to look at all the symbolism on the background of this. This was only in 2019 or 17. This is called Classic Rome. This is issue 4 of Godzilla's Rage Across Time. Look at this sunlight thing going on back here in the background. And look at all this destruction and fire going on down here. And look at this elephant running away down here, which is important. Okay. This article of Godzilla that you can find is about Hannibal. You got it. The one of Rome. Hannibal makes his daring assault on Rome, but first he must overcome an unforeseen obstacle. Godzilla. Can the classical era's greatest terror defeat history's mightiest monster? Man versus monster at its finest. Listen to this storyline here, okay? In 2016, these two were flying through the Alps in a helicopter searching for clues as to how Hannibal survived in the past. In 2018 BCE, a group of Roman soldiers were battling Hannibal in the Alps when Godzilla crossed their path. General Hannibal Barca and his men, who had only barely escaped defeat by the monster, decided to attack it like the Safu driver ants, who had done to a rhinoceros in the home village by forming an unbreakable column and attacking it as a body. Hannibal's mercenaries talked him into letting them rest for a while, and they were ambushed by Roman soldiers. During the attack, Godzilla attacked. Hannibal and his men managed to survive and hid in the ravine, where Hannibal found a northern passage through the mountains. Hannibal then had his men boil their wine into vinegar, cover all their dead in tar, and to capulate them at Godzilla's head, which would distract him long enough for the archers to fire on him while others doused him in vinegar. The resulting explosion both covered Godzilla in snow. This is important because remember, after Rome, Godzilla went and hibernated in the ice, which is covering himself in snow, and broke down the mountain, allowing Hannibal to get to Rome. Now, this is what's nuts. Let me pull this up. I have some screenshots of this comic book series that came out about Godzilla attacking Rome and Hannibal, who was a real character. Okay. Do you know what is said in this? I'll show you. Okay. Do you see this? This here is Hannibal. You see the one eye symbolism that's going on up here? Okay, so you can see that he's got the Eye of Horus, Eye of Ra thing going on up here, but he's also got the red sun disk with the eclipse going on in the front of it this time. But then have you not read what he said over here? This is Hannibal talking about him getting his revenge on Rome and Godzilla. When I return, I'll bring the fires of Tartarus behind me. Did you hear that? Tartarus is the prison, the abode of fallen angels, where fallen angels are prisoned and bound, like Satan, who was bound for 1,000 years. Well, this man here, Hannibal, says right here in this comic book that he will bring the fires of Tartarus down on Godzilla and Rome. Pretty interesting, huh? Like I said, he has the reel going on, the insert into one eye. You see it all throughout the thing. Here's that again. Hannibal. Like, it literally means ball. Okay. Ball against Rome. Okay. What's crazy is you read about Leviathan, his impenetrable scales and stuff like that. Well, check this out. They make it a point to highlight it. So they have Hannibal go and he tries to he tries to get himself to latch onto Godzilla. He jumps onto his tail by slinging a rope around it. Godzilla pulls him up. He climbs on his back and tries to stab him, but his sword will not penetrate the scales. And that's where all this comes from, of him losing the battle. Okay. But what's crazy is about this whole thing is it's literally referring to Hannibal and the attack of every time that he would surround to attack Rome. Every time he would surround Rome, Godzilla would attack. I want to say it again so it's clear. In this comic book, every time that Hannibal the Great would try to attack Rome, Godzilla would attack. Let's read Revelation 20 again. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed, surrounded the camp of the saints in the beloved city. When they did that, they didn't enter. Fire came down from God out of the heaven and devoured them. Did you hear all that? Okay. So, I think I had it blocked out. Let me go back to Revelation 20, okay? Like I said, right here. They went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city, and fire came down from God and devoured them. Okay? So, this ties in with this because, like I said, Hannibal was the one attacking Rome, surrounding with his armies, surrounding Rome. Every time he would surround Rome and try to attack, Godzilla would attack at the same time. And when he finally takes them out, what he does is cause ice and snow to come down and cover and bury Godzilla, where he hibernates again for a while, okay? Till he finally comes up at the end to fight. So, there's that. Let me see how far I am on time. I don't even know how long I've been going. 1 hour and 44 minutes. All right, let me just see. I may have to break this one off. We talked about that. We talked about this whole crazy thing here. Talked about this. So, yep, we talked about all those. The bloop. Okay. Well, I guess that's an okay spot to put a pause, but I do want to say this, okay? I want to recap. Okay. Here's some things that we have brought up. We've talked about the bloop and its location. We talked about the fact that the bloop location, which was literally something bloop coming from the bottom of the ocean, being released up on the bottom of the ocean, that took place. We talked about that at that same place is Nemo Point, which is also the same place as the point of inaccessibility, and which is also the point of Nemo Point's name or origin, which is Captain Nemo, or Captain Ahab and Moby Dick, and Captain Nemo and Journey to the League of the Seas. I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. Where he takes that down there and discovers those creatures. So we got two different stories that are around that same area as well, discovering these beasts and creatures at the bottom of the ocean, the abyss, along with the mysterious island and the tie-in with all the movies related to that. We also talked about Godzilla and the fact that this creature here is the destroyer, the one that causes the ice ages, the ones that causes the end. We talked about this tie-in also with the new empire of the frozen empire of Ghostbusters that just come out as well. We talked about Hercules tie-in. We talked about Thor's tie-in. By the way, Hercules and Zeus is the exact same story as Thor and Odin. By the way, if you haven't done A plus B equals C there. We talked about Surtur and his whole coming back and destroying Asgard. We talked about all those things kind of tying in together. Very, very important stuff. Okay, now I encourage you guys to go and watch my other Godzilla videos because In those videos, I point out things like the NASA, the whole NASA deception and where their launches are really going and why they're launching rockets almost every single day right now from different parts of the world into the oceans, why that's taking place. We also have talked about in those decodes, which is something important to bring up right now, is this use of warships that's taking place. Okay. If you guys don't know, last year, literally right in front of people's faces, I think it was April or August, one of the A months, right in the middle of that, there was Russian warships, American warships, and Chinese warships all out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and nobody even knew why. They kept coming up with excuses of why this, why this. They were doing exercises, okay? Now we're in this whole big United Nations exercise too, where everybody's got to come together and try and figure something out as well. All these things are not coincidences, okay? There's a reason why there was warships out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. There's a reason why Pearl Harbor, that there was Chinese warships, Japanese warships, there was American warships, and once again, Russian warships involved in that as well, surrounding that area, setting off these bombs. There's also a reason why we started our bombing campaigns right after that in the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, following Pearl Harbor. Hundreds of bombs set off in the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. We talked about all those things. So if those interest you, I encourage you to go watch the probably 6 hours worth of evidence I've talked about of those things. So I think about 2 hours is a good amount for tonight of rambling on here. However, I want to check in on my chat box here and see what we got going on. Wowza. Okay. Yes, I saw this. This is actually important. The 8th day is eternity. See, what's crazy about this number 8 is it's indeed the meta logo. It's the infinity logo. It is indeed the Ouroboros. The Ouroboros, the snake eating his tail. The idea of infinity. The day after the 7th, the 8th day, the infinity day, the timestamp day, the time travel day, the Biff. It is what it is. So yes, very, very good point there about the 8th and its time, his tie-in with time travel and portals. Very, very good there. Okay. So I see a lot of stuff up here. I just don't know if I'll be able to catch up with all this stuff. I'm very, very sorry. I am really, really getting kind of sleepy. I've been pouring a lot into this stuff here lately. However, I do want to say this. I am planning on going live with some more on this, because I'm actually waiting for some more video to come out so that I can clip it up for you guys, because I didn't sit there in the movie theater with my phone recording it. So I want to actually show you guys some of these scenes, especially of the Hollow Earth and the Mayan Aztec stuff going on underneath the heart of the earth, and also the tie-in with the Tower of Babel. This is actually very important. I'll go in and throw this little banana sandwich in here. Check this out. Do you guys know? Actually, nope, I can't. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave you guys hanging on the edge of your seats for that one. Yeah, I'm going to leave that one for the next one. I was going to talk about the reason why there's giant apes seen in Planet of the Apes, and why there's apes seen in Godzilla versus Kong, and why Kong is even a thing, and King Kong and all those things, where that originated, and why there are big old giants and things like that. So, the red heifer sacrifices. Yes, that's going to happen. However, I've been trying to point out to you guys a lot that what's taking place right now they are recreating everything that happened in 66. See, in 66, it wasn't just a red heifer that was sacrificed. They actually went and got a red heifer to sacrifice and a lamb, a spotless lamb. They sacrificed a red heifer and a spotless lamb on Pentecost. It was nuts. So, not Pentecost, that was a Passover. It's crazy. Same thing going on there. But yeah, they're doing it all now too. And I mean, everything's playing out again. Nothing new under the sun. This is a new age, the end of this age as well. So it always turns out the same way. But anyway, great point. Heifers are, I think, here's the thing though, I think people are missing. I talk a lot about the United States and the fall of the United States, but what I don't think people get is this is the war of Gog and Magog. And I don't think people get that this is just because I talk about the United States. You need to understand this is going to be a worldwide thing going on here. The war of Gog and Magog. This is going to be a mess, a freak show. However, I don't think it's something that you guys should be terrified about. What I think you guys should be doing is being motivated, being encouraged by his word, by knowing what his word says, by also knowing that it says that when the Abaddon, when the abyss opens, that the things coming out of it are looking for a certain group. These things that are coming out are going after the enemy. Okay, that's the difference. God takes what the enemy means for evil and uses it for good. At the end, he takes the Titans that were doing wicked and bad and he turns them for his purpose. This is why you read about before the flood, you read about the war of the Nephilim and the Raphaim. That was the promise that was given to Enoch. When Enoch said to the fallen angels, you're going to have to watch your children kill themselves. You're going to have to watch this before the flood. So the war of the Nephilim and the Raphaim, the pure blood and the moon children against the others until they kill themselves. Then they chop down the tree with the ones that remain. Okay. So do not be scared though. Be encouraged. My thing is this. One thing I love about this channel is we've went and proved the Bible to be true a lot. Like we've proven things that were like, oh, I'm waiting for this to happen, but it sounds like too crazy to happen. We're proving things like that have already taken place and like documented on geographical levels and historical levels at the same time. So to know the word of God is confirmed is encouraging in itself. However, you guys have to have faith also. Okay, this computer is not going to be running very long. I don't think much longer. I don't think electronics are going to be working all throughout this whole year. You need to go on and understand that. I'm not going to be sitting here saying, hey, you guys need to look at this and look at this. At some point, it's going to go mute. Look, you guys need to know this. Why the 2 witnesses were taken and a remnant was left behind was this. Okay, he said he would remove his prophets from amongst them and they would seek after them. See, there's a lot of people trying to wake up people today. There's a lot of truthers out there trying their hardest, saying, hey, I don't know why. I lived a horrible life and I've had all these bad things happen to me, but I feel like it's for a purpose. And now there's this crazy feeling in my life of me knowing that I got to tell you guys this stuff. And it's people like me covered in tattoos, looking rough, having bad past lives that have just awakened. See, I think what's going to happen is God's going to remove and silence a lot of people here coming up. And there's going to be a lot of questions that are not going to get answered anymore. Like at all. I believe there's going to be a point this year when this grid shuts down that a lot of people that were calling us like crazy, they're going to be like, where are they at? Where can I ask this person? What was his name again? I can't even use my phone. It's crazy. So anyway, I encourage you guys to, if you tuned in late, you missed a lot, including my banana sandwich shirt. Pretty excited about it. I want to share with you guys that was made for me by Miss M, who's up here. However, I'm going to get off here. I am going to be back up here in the next couple of days. I've got all kinds of things I want to share with you guys, but I'm trying to get kind of priority stuff, like things we really need to talk about up front before I get into some other fun stuff. So with that said, I'm going to drop off of here. If you guys want to help, just go on and hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button so I can go on and get a little jump in the algorithm so people can tune back into this video. I also want to say, if you want to help out with this ministry whatsoever, whether it be prayer or whether it be financial or anything like that, it's always appreciated, especially with the fact that Facebook has completely demonetized me and restricted me, and YouTube, I'm still a little early bird. So any support I can get is great. This is all I do with my life is decode and answer questions on a lot of pages. So I think I shared my stuff in the chat box down below, my Cashapp, my PayPal stuff. But if you don't do that, just know that this is not about money or anything like that. It's more about the fact that I still have to eat and things like that as well. But if it is what it is. I do want you guys, though, to please pray for me and my wife. The due date is the 7th of my daughter, Mia. And my wife is about to explode. She's very close. She's been having a little Braxton Hicks stuff. However, I am a little nervous. I am going to be delivering my child. I've never done it before in my life. However, I have kids. I've been there. I've watched it. This time I'm going to do a little different. I'm going to make sure that there's no heel pricking going on with my child. that there's none of the injections of vaccines going on with my child. And I'm also going to make sure that I'm going to try and avoid any type of documentation of things that I don't have to document for my child. See, the thing is we don't really pay attention to our rights and things that we got going on. We just sign the line willingly all the time. So I'm going to try and do things different. So be praying for that. My wife's nervous. I'm nervous, but we're both so excited. The main thing we don't want is her not to come the 7th and we be in the middle of Passover, our celebration stuff going on and our observations of stuff going on the 8th that we're planning. And we're delivering a baby in the middle of the eclipse. It's not, I don't know how I feel about it. So thank you very much, Rock E. Shepherd, for helping out tonight. However, like I said, there's a lot of stuff up here you guys need to be unpacking. Just check it out. I don't want to go on much longer and get us on the 2-hour mark. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, all that other stuff. And I will see you guys on the next one. I love you guys so much. Have yourself a good night and or day. And I hope your Sabbath has been truly, truly, truly a blessing. So Shabbat Shalom and have a good one. Love you guys so much from Beyond the Veil.